Imagine waking up on August 8th, 2026, checking your business analytics, and you just realize that 58% of your website traffic simply vanished overnight.
Yeah, just completely gone. And I mean, your servers are fine, right?
Exactly. Your site speed is optimal, your content is better than ever. The traffic didn't even go to a competitor?
No, it vanished because an AI read your content, memorized it, and just handed it to your customers on the search engine results page for free.
It's wild. Welcome to the completely new architecture of the internet. And mapping out the mechanics of this broken contract is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Right, because we are witnessing a total inversion of the digital economy right now in August 2026.
We really are. So we're pulling from a massive stack of notes compiled by the SEO Daily Technology Report specifically for August 8th, 2026.
And this matters whether you run, a multinational e-commerce empire or a local bakery down the street.
Or even if you're just intensely curious about how information is actually distributed in 2026, we are unpacking the exact mechanisms of how your content is found right now.
Because let's be honest, the era of fighting to rank #1 on Google, it's officially dead.
Completely dead. It has been completely replaced by the era of fighting to be cited by AI.
Yeah, that's the new battlefield.
Right. So before we get into the tactical survival guide, let's establish the sheer scale of this shift. The numbers from this August 8th, 2026 report are just staggering.
They really are. I mean, understand the velocity of this, you just have to look at the saturation rate.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So as of August 2026, 50% of all Google searches now feature an AI-generated answer at the absolute top of the page.
Half of all searches.
Half. We have moved way, way beyond those beta tests and, opt-in experiments like the old search generative experience.
Right, the SGE stuff from a couple of years ago.
Exactly. Now, half of all global search volume, we're like billions of queries a day,
Yeah.
now terminates in a synthetic AI-generated paragraph.
And the fallout from that is exactly that 58% traffic drop we opened with.
Yep. Users are getting the exact answer they need without ever leaving the Google ecosystem. It's a completely closed loop.
But if you take a step back, doesn't this create a massive structural vulnerability for Google?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge risk for them.
Right, because if publishers lose their programmatic ad revenue and their lead generation because Google is intercepting all the traffic, those publishers are going to stop creating new content.
And if they stop creating content, Google's AI models eventually starve for fresh data. They have nothing to train on.
Exactly. It's this vicious cycle.
And Google is acutely aware of that impending starvation. They're walking this razor-thin tightrope right now.
How so? Like, what's their play here?
Well, they're trying to balance delivering instant gratification to the user against completely bankrupting the ecosystem that trains their models.
Right.
So their mitigation strategy, which we are seeing deployed super heavily in the August 2026 data, is what they call enhanced AI link attribution.
Enhanced AI link attribution. Okay, so what does that actually look like for the user?
They are essentially attempting to make the AI output look less like an omniscient oracle, and more like a heavily footnoted research paper.
Oh, I see. So visually, that means we're seeing inline citations nested directly inside the AI-generated text.
Exactly. And they have these new hover previews that trigger like a quick glimpse of the source website when you mouse over a link.
Okay, let's unpack this with a quick analogy. It's kind of like you built this beautiful storefront, right? But Google is sending a robot to look in your window, memorize your entire inventory, and then report back to the customer on the sidewalk so they never actually have to walk through your door.
That is a perfect way to describe it. But the mechanics behind those visual changes, those citations, they're essentially just a digital Band-Aid.
And I'm guessing the publishers see right through that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Major publishing houses are now openly discussing implementing hard technical blocks against Googlebot.
Wait, really? Like blocking Google entirely?
Yes. They are threatening the nuclear option. They're talking about removing themselves from Google search completely because the traffic exchange is just no longer economically viable for them.
Wow. That's a massive escalation.
It is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the underlying engine driving this whole crisis.
Right, because generating an AI response for half of the world's search queries requires an unfathomable amount of compute power.
Exactly. Historically, the cost of running a massive large language model for billions of daily queries would just destroy Google's profit margins.
It would be financial suicide. But something changed just last month, right?
Right. In July 2026, just weeks prior to our August 8 anchor point here, Google deployed a totally new architecture into production.
Gemini 3.5 flashlight.
Yes, flashlight.
Yeah.
And the deployment of this model is the technological catalyst that made that 50% saturation rate possible.
Because it's cheaper.
Exactly. The economics of inference, the computational cost of actually generating a response to a prompt, that dictates everything in AI.
So flashlight is just much more efficient.
It's a highly distilled, hyper-efficient model. It uses drastically fewer parameters, which cuts the latency and the server costs down to a fraction of their flagship models.
I look at it kind of like a customer service infrastructure.
How so?
Well, previously, using a flagship LLM for every search query was like hiring a tenured PhD scholar to answer every single phone call that came into a massive call center.
Right. Brilliant, but financially ruinous.
Exactly. But Flashlight is like deploying an ultra-efficient, highly specialized dispatcher. It's cheap enough that Google can afford to run it billions of times a day.
That's a great analogy. And the efficiency of Flashlight doesn't just save them money, it actually unlocks entirely new capabilities.
Like what are they doing with that extra compute?
Well, because the text generation is so computationally cheap now, Google is allocating that surplus compute power to multimodal generation.
Multimodal. So we're talking images and video natively in the AI answer. Exactly. The August 2026 data shows an absolute explosion of AI-generated images injected directly into product queries. And I've seen deep-linked video references for how-to searches, too.
Right. And the projections suggest that by late 2026, over 50% of informational queries will be fully multimodal.
So, meaning that if your content strategy right now in August 2026 relies purely on well-written text, you are essentially invisible.
You really are. The AI requires high-quality visual assets, structured product data, and video segments as raw materials to construct these answers.
And if you don't supply the raw materials, you just don't get cited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which creates a really severe strategic dilemma for anyone managing a digital presence right now.
Because the visual layout and the core engine of search have radically mutated.
Yep.
But if you look at Google's official documentation...
This is the most frustrating part.
Right. Specifically, their Generative AI Optimization Guide published back on May 15th, 2026. They are telling webmasters to change absolutely nothing.
It's crazy. If you're listening to this and feeling a sense of deep frustration because you spent the last 2 years perfecting your EEAT strategy.
Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Exactly. If you've been grinding on that, your exhaustion is entirely justified. Google is explicitly telling the market to just stick to the traditional playbook.
They claim you don't need any specialized, like, AI schema or novel content chunking to appear in an AI overview.
Yeah, their official line is just build a fast site with authoritative content.
Meanwhile, the rest of the artificial intelligence industry is operating on a completely different standard.
Entirely different. The August 8, 2026 report heavily details the rapid adoption of this new protocol called LMS.txt.
Right, the LMS.txt file. And we're seeing, between 5 and 15% of major websites have already deployed this at their root directory?
Yep, 5 to 15%. And for the technical strategists listening, you already know this isn't just some basic markdown file.
No, it is a highly curated stripped-down map designed specifically for LLM crawlers.
Exactly. You are essentially curating a high-signal, low-noise pathway so that a crawler doesn't have to waste expensive compute power parsing your CSS or your navigation menus.
Or all the boilerplate marketing fluff. You are just handing the machine pure, structured semantic data.
Right. But the strategic divergence here is critical. Google intentionally ignores the LMS.txt protocol.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Their infrastructure is built to crawl the messy traditional web, but systems like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude, they rely on it heavily.
It dramatically reduces the friction of ingesting and understanding a website's core expertise.
It does. We're even seeing developer platforms like Mitlify automatically generating these files for documentation repositories now. They're standardizing the protocol across the web.
Okay, let me push back on how businesses are actually supposed to handle this, though.
Go for it.
Are we basically living in a two-tiered internet now? One where we play by Google's stubborn legacy EEAT rules, and a completely separate one where we have to explicitly reformat and spoon-feed our data to ChatGPT through markdown files.
I mean, yes. Operating on two different strategic frequencies sounds like a logistical nightmare for marketing teams, I know.
It really does. It sounds exhausting.
Managing a dual reality is demanding, but ignoring it is fatal.
Right. You have to think of that 58% traffic drop we discussed.
Exactly. If Google's AI overviews are choking off your traditional search traffic, your absolute highest priority must be capturing the traffic flowing through Perplexity, Claude, and ChatGPT.
And implementing an LLM.txt file requires pretty minimal engineering resources, right?
Super minimal.
Hmm.
But it exponentially increases the probability that an independent LLM will cite your brand as the authoritative source when it synthesizes an answer.
So you maintain your complex EEAT architecture for Google, but you provide this clean, frictionless data pipeline for everyone else.
That's the exact strategy. But the structural problem with operating on two different frequencies is that the legacy tools we use to measure success, they just no longer work.
Right, because checking to see if your domain ranks in like the third position for a specific keyword is a static spatial measurement.
Yeah, but an AI overview is fluid, it's conversational, and it's highly non-deterministic.
Meaning two users asking the exact same question might get entirely different synthetic paragraphs.
Exactly. So measuring visibility inside a hallucinated paragraph requires an entirely different technological approach.
Which brings us to the tooling section, because this is why the legacy SEO tracking ecosystem is being rapidly cannibalized by a massive new software category.
Right. Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO.
The August 8, 2026 report outlines a huge flood of GEO platforms hitting the market. You have LLM Pulse leading the charge, tracking citations across 5 different models for €49 a month.
And you have all these upstarts like Profound, Athena HQ, Scrunch AI, and Otterly.ai, all fighting for market share.
But here's where it gets really interesting, and I have to ask, is GEO just a fancy new acronym agencies invented to sell us more software?
It's a fair question.
Like, is tracking quote-unquote share of voice in an AI answer actually functionally different from traditional web scraping and keyword tracking?
It is fundamentally different, and the mechanism is computationally really heavy.
Okay, explain how it works then.
Well, a traditional rank tracker simply downloads a static HTML page, parses the document object model, and looks for your URL.
Right, it's just a basic string matching exercise.
Exactly. But a GEO tool has to autonomously prompt an LLM, wait for the inference layer to generate a conversational response, and then, this is the key part, use a secondary LLM to analyze the semantic context of that response.
Wow, okay. So it has to determine if your brand was actually mentioned.
Yes, and verify if the citation actually linked to your domain. And most importantly, grade the sentiment of the mention.
The sentiment, right. Like, was the AI recommending your product or criticizing it?
Exactly. Performing that secondary semantic analysis across 5 different models at scale is why these tools represent a genuine evolution in analytics. It's not just counting blue links anymore.
And the established enterprise giants are clearly feeling the pressure from these GEO upstarts.
Oh, big time.
Looking at the data from SE Ranking, they've launched an AI search add-on for $71.20 a month that consolidates visibility tracking across Google AI Overviews, Perplexity, and ChatGPT into a single dashboard.
Yeah, and they've integrated a feature called SE Visible specifically to parse that brand sentiment we just talked about.
Which is crucial, right? Like if you run a local business, you don't just need to know if Perplexity mentions your bakery. You need to know if it's telling users your croissants are stale.
Exactly, you need the context. Meanwhile, SEMrush is taking a slightly different route to protect their enterprise dominance.
Right, they're sitting at $119.95 a month for their pro tier.
Yeah, and at that price, they aren't just selling data tracking, they are selling automated synthesis. They've rolled out an AI copilot designed to interpret these really complex multi-engine data sets and automatically generate actionable workflows.
And the August 2026 data actually shows that 60% of surveyed SEMrush users have fully integrated these AI tools into their keyword research pipelines.
It's massive adoption. But these GEO platforms sound like magic bullets for navigating this fragmented landscape.
Yeah.
But there's a massive existential vulnerability built into their business models.
Right, because to provide semantic sentiment analysis across millions of queries, these tools have to aggressively scrape the search engines and AI interfaces.
They require completely unfettered access to public data.
And the native platforms view that level of data extraction as a huge threat to their proprietary ecosystems.
Which brings us to one of the most critical developments in the August 8, 2026 report.
The lawsuit.
The lawsuit. We had a landmark legal ruling that essentially just saved the entire GEO industry from collapse.
Right. Google just lost a major lawsuit against a company called Serpapi.
Yes. Google was attempting to use the court system to legally restrict Serpapi from scraping search results.
They were effectively trying to build a walled garden around their analytics.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that the implications of that lawsuit cannot be overstated. If Google had succeeded in establishing a legal precedent against scraping public search data, independent analytics would have been paralyzed.
Only Google would possess the telemetry on how AI overviews were functioning.
Right. The court's dismissal of Google's attempt preserves the competitive landscape. It ensures that third-party tools can legally extract the data necessary to hold these massive AI ecosystems accountable.
Because without that scraping protection, digital marketers would be entirely reliant on native portals like Google's Search Console.
And while native data is useful, we all know it is famously curated to serve the platform's narrative.
Though we should probably acknowledge that Google Search Console did roll out a highly requested architectural update in July 2026.
They did. They finally dismantled the silo between social media and traditional search.
Yeah, for the first time, GSC is tracking search performance data for content originating from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X.
It's a huge deal. You can sit in one interface and analyze how a viral TikTok video is performing in a generative search result right alongside a technical white paper.
It really reflects the reality that modern AI models do not care about domain authority in the traditional sense.
No, they care about the velocity and relevance of the information, regardless of the hosting platform.
The integration of social telemetry is a major step forward, sure, but the August 2026 report also highlights a pretty glaring contradiction in Google's engineering priorities.
Oh, you mean the indexing issues?
Yeah. While they are launching sophisticated social tracking, the foundational infrastructure of GSE, the page indexing reports, are suffering from chronic delays.
It's so frustrating. Technical SEOs are dealing with incredibly stale data when trying to diagnose basic crawl errors.
It is the ultimate paradox of Google in 2026. Like, they can generate a multimodal AI response in milliseconds, but they can't tell a webmaster if a core product page was successfully indexed yesterday.
It's wild. But Google isn't the only native platform executing major architectural changes right now.
Right, we have to look at Microsoft and Bing webmaster tools.
Because they are enforcing a hard technical deadline that is going to cause severe disruptions for engineering teams.
Yeah, so Microsoft is aggressively positioning Bing as, like, a transparent alternative for AI-era webmasters.
They're rolling out native features like citation share, which provides exact metrics on how often a domain is referenced in Bing's generative answers.
And they have deep topics analysis and intense tracking to parse user behavior.
But the critical alert buried in the August 8th, 2026 data, and if you manage an analytics pipeline, you need to pay attention to this, is the absolute retirement of the Bing Webmaster Tools SOAP and POX APIs.
Right. Microsoft is fully deprecating them on August 31st, 2026.
And that deadline is exactly 23 days from our August 8 anchor date today.
Just 23 days. And the engineering implications of this are pretty severe, right?
Very severe. SOP Simple Object Access Protocol is an archaic XML-heavy protocol. Moving a legacy analytics pipeline to a modern JSON-based REST API is not just a simple toggle switch.
No, it requires rewriting authentication flows, rebuilding parsing logic, restructuring downstream data models. It's a lot of work.
A 23-day window to execute a full API migration is a logistical nightmare.
And if an engineering team misses that August 31st deadline,
internal dashboards go dark, automated reporting fails, and the business loses all visibility into their Bing search performance during the most volatile period in internet history.
It forces a massive reallocation of engineering resources right when those teams should be focusing on deploying lms.txt files and restructuring their content for Gemini Flashlight.
Exactly. The timing is brutal.
The sheer velocity of these changes is breathtaking. We've unpacked a staggering amount of technical reality from the August 8th, 2026 SEO Daily Technology Report.
We really have.
The fundamental takeaway is that the ecosystem has completely fractured. We have Google deploying hyper-efficient models like Gemini 3.5 Flashlight to push AI overviews onto 50% of all searches.
Driving that 58% drop in click-through rates.
Right. While stubbornly demanding adherence to traditional EEAT guidelines.
Simultaneously, the independent AI sector is demanding structured markdown files to bypass the noise of the traditional web.
And bridging that divide requires investing in the new wave of generative engine optimization tools, relying on the legal protections of the Sir-Poppy ruling to actually acquire the data.
And urgently migrating legacy API pipelines before Microsoft pulls the plug at the end of the month.
The tactical roadmap is clear. But if we pull back from the immediate crises of August 2026, where does this structural friction inevitably lead?
Well, just look at the trajectory of that 58% traffic drop. As AI platforms successfully intercept the majority of user traffic, the economic incentive to publish free, high-quality information collapses.
Right. Why publish if you don't get the traffic?
Exactly. So the logical endpoint is massive publisher syndicates deploying hard paywalls and aggressive bot mitigation to completely starve the LLMs of fresh data.
And when the AI models begin to degrade from data starvation,
The search engines will face an unavoidable reckoning. They will be forced to abandon the concept of treating human-generated content as freely exploitable raw material.
wow.
We are accelerating toward a horizon where entities like Google and OpenAI will have to pay direct licensing fees to ingest proprietary databases and expert content.
So could SEO transition from a marketing expense into a direct revenue stream?
I think so. The entire paradigm of SEO is about to flip. Businesses currently bleed resources fighting for visibility, but soon, AI platforms might just pay a premium toll to access your expertise.
The robot finally pays the toll. That is a massive shift to think about.
It really changes everything.
We'll leave you to think on that. Keep questioning the information around you, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.